Good morning, everybody. This is Kyle Speed One coming to you from the racetrack. Hey, I've been working on different techniques for detailing the track. As you can see, it's still the OEM black Carrera digital track. And I chose two pieces, a straight, which I'll show you later, and this curve. And I got the inspiration for this by a fellow that's on YouTube. Many of you that are into slot cars already knows who this is, but for those who don't, you need to, and I'll leave a link in this video on his channel, but it's called Boone's Slot Cars. Boons, Boone's Slot Cars. Okay? So anyway, he gave me the inspiration to try a little something. And that little something was trying to put detail into the plastic track carefully with a soldering iron and make marks that looks like cobblestones or flagstones or, bricks or what have you. Okay? So, I've got two of my Fly F1 cars. I got the Warsteiner, and then I've got this one here, the Rothmans, number 10, as an example. And I'll go ahead and remove the cars for the time being and show you see in a turn, a lot of times you'll see where somebody broke late, used their brakes late or what have you, and they leave rubber down onto the pavement, whatever it is, especially concrete. And you'll see where the tire actually locked up and in the skid marks and whatnot. Now, as you can tell, I have the propensity to overdo things, which I I know I overdid it. But this was as an experiment just to see what all I could do with what I've got. So, to start off with, I use different paints. This is a bare house paint. There's that slate gray. Now, some of the coating has been worn off through the years because I use this because it's actually for a Focke-Wulf 190, and it's one of the RLM gray colors. All right, but it works real good as like for a slate gray stone color. And you can use, these are the sample bottles, okay? And you can go to Home Depot and go to the color palette area and pick out, your earth tones and whatever colors that you want, and give them that paint card, and they will duplicate it and put it in there. This is water soluble house paint, and most of the time I buy satin. The other paints that were used, this is Folk Art, and it's a coffee color. And most of the rest of the paints that I own these are acrylics. These are acrylics here. Is from Apple Barrel. And this one I've used for a lot of things, especially like flesh color in painting figures and what have you. And for some of my radio controlled airplanes, certain markings and what have you. But this is acrylic, water-based or water-soluble paint. And it works real good. And of course, here's my well-used black, flat black apple barrel. All right. And so I mainly used these three colors in the stonework. Okay. And I used just a cheap, stiff bristle brush like this to paint the colors of the stones and all that. And then after all that dries, and the gray here is actually Tamiya primer, aerosol, rattle can, Tamiya primer. I think it's a light gray primer. Okay. So that's replicating, kind of like concrete. So after all that dries, I came back with the flat black and placed cars onto the track and took a pencil and marked the beginning of the wheel locking up here and here, and also in the path of the front wheels. See here? And I did the same over here. I just duplicated. Usually in turns you'll see people lock their wheels up because they broke too late and they were carrying way too much speed, and that's usually what makes these type of marks in the pavement. Later on, I'll go back and follow. I can't really do that on this line here because it's basically in the center line. But over here, I can duplicate where over periods of time there's been oil spilled, coolant spilled, fuel spilled, and different arcs of the apex that drivers took to get through this corner. So the biggest thing is the stonework. And let me see. I think I put it up. I didn't use a regular. Okay, let me see. I should have been more organized than this, and I apologize. So hang on a second. Found it. Usually it's a madhouse and I can't find anything. I used this. It's a butane soldering iron. Okay. And the tip of it, I don't know if you can see it real well, but it's goes to a flat tip. Goes to a flat tip, and that's how I'm able to duplicate patterns of the stonework by melting the plastic, and it doesn't take much. I mean, usually the settings are set pretty low. This is black, so I don't know if you're going to see it or not, but the settings are usually kind of low, right about there, for the amount of fuel that's going through and keeping the soldering iron going. Okay. Now, I didn't run across this problem, but there is a danger of, if you're not careful, because if you look at your Carrera track, it's only so thick. Okay, it's only so thick, and you don't want to break through when you're making these marks. You just want to etch it enough to make whatever patterns, stones, cobblestones, flagstones, bricks that you're wanting to make into the top surface here. Just enough. And I suggest you do as I did, an experiment on a plastic track, a spare piece that you're not going to use. But if you do okay, you could use it if you wanted to. But be mindful. Do not go too far into the plastic. There's a happy medium, as it were, of doing this. And you really don't have to go that far in order to create the cracks where they've been filled in by asphalt, black tar asphalt that I've put in here. And you can duplicate that on around the track where, concrete has cracked and they filled it in with black tar asphalt to patch areas. So the acrylic paints from Walmart work real well. You can get fancy if you've got a big track and taking your palette cards, color palette cards, and having paints mixed for you, and you'll have these for years. And just make sure you keep the cap screwed on tight. Okay, so this was like a stone work, and not very big stones. And then I decided to work on a straight track. Now, this was freshly painted yesterday, okay, using those same acrylic colors and the Tamiya primer. All right. Now, I haven't done any of the weathering techniques other than a real light black wash, which you'll have to experiment on the tint of your wash, which is just water with a couple of drops of this dropped into it. Mix it up all real well. Take you a brush and just go around the whole piece. It'll fill in all the cracks of the stones, and it'll make the stones look a little bit dirtier, okay? This still looks like somebody had just laid them down, and it's a little too loud. So I've got to tone down the whole thing more or less like I did this one here. So freshly painted, just a real light wash at first, and then I got heavier with the wash and added more detail into the brickwork or the stonework. Okay. Now these were made by white acrylic paint, like it was a walkway at one time. And I mean, I just did that for effect. But basically that's it can be done, and to whatever degrees that you want it done. Okay. I think this the concrete needs to be dirtied up just a little bit more. It still pops and it's still too bright and what have you. Doing old World War I and World War II plastic models, I used to put in a lot of weathering effects into my models where, they look used and tired instead of brand new out of the factory and driving up to the war, as it were. But, yeah, and you can alternate when you make your marks on here. And if it helps, this one I did a little bit different. I sprayed the whole thing this Tamiya primer, I masked it off with masking tape on my rails, just in case one day I wanted to use this on something, and kept my connections clean. But I sprayed the whole thing with Tamiya primer, and then I came back and made my marks for the stones all the way across there on the width of them. Okay, you can see where some of them are wider than others. Still the same stone, but they're different widths. Okay, so I did kind of a random pattern on it. You can do it however you want to. Now on the cobblestones, of course, most of the time those are smaller. So if you follow this line here, and you follow this line here, and make your marks, you can come back with your soldering iron that's got a blade-like tapered edge to it. Or you can actually use a file, a metal file, and actually take a regular soldering iron's tip and shape the tip how you want it in order to make certain type of marks. This one here was in the box along with the butane soldering iron, and it works great. You just have to be real careful around here because that's the vent. The flame is actually up in here, and it pushes the flame up into the tip, and you have air holes where it can exhaust out the heat, but the heat's real bad around here. Excuse me, I know by experience that you want to keep your hand at least 5 to 6 inches away from this area. And you want to give the same kind of distance on the surface that you're working on, and if there's a surface above you, because that will melt plastic real quick and warp it. I've used this tip on slot cars when assembling the interiors back in or building white kits to melt the tab, the round dowel tab, like when you're wanting to install your cockpit, your driver's area, or even your glass. And you have to be really careful because it's an enclosed area. Okay? You'll melt something if you're not careful. So anyway, I don't remember the brand of this. I think I got it from Ace Hardware. But it's a really nice, there's where you fill it with butane. And you can buy extra cans and what have you. And you can take this apart and take this whole assembly out and replace parts as you need to. But it's a good portable soldering iron. And I didn't want to try to use a regular soldering iron because my closest outlet is right there. And as most of you who know, you start adding length of wire to that soldering iron, and it may not heat up as hot as you need it to heat up, okay? And mine's just a regular cheap old $14 soldering iron, okay? So that's what prompted me to use this, and it works great. I was sitting on the couch actually doing both of these pieces, watching a TV show. Well, I was watching a movie, and which is how I do a lot of things. I'll be watching a movie or something, and I'll be working on my hobby as I'm doing it. I find it very therapeutic. But again, a shout out to Boone's Slot Cars. I think his videos on this particular subject are older, I forget, 3 to 5, if not a little bit older, years old. I strongly suggest, if you're entertaining doing these sort of things, that you go to his YouTube channel and watch what he does in the detailing of his track. He has a wonderfully detailed, he's very talented, very artistic. Can't say enough good things about him. I'll probably go after this video drops and drop him a message telling him thank you for his contributions to the slot car world. And I got a tree about to fall down. I don't think I even glued that one in. Not yet, anyway. So, the bad thing is I've already got my track laid down, where in some places, I kind of used foam board tack or glue, foam board glue, and glued down. Now it's removable, but you will tear some stuff up. It does a good job of holding the track down so you don't get any rattling or noises. And I've got foam in some areas that support my track that's glued to the track with that foam tack. I think Woodland Scenics makes it. It's great stuff. It's great for gluing in windshields because as long as you just don't goop it on there, it dries so clear it looks like glass, and you can't really tell how you glued it in there. Okay, so I think that's it for today. I wanted to show you some of the things that I've been up to in trying to create different textures on the track. The next one I probably will try doing cobblestone for effect. But basically, if I wanted to tear my track up, which it works so good right now, I don't want to do that. I don't want to tear my track up. If I wanted to, I could actually replace these two pieces. I could actually replace these two pieces for this section here. Wouldn't that be neat? And see, like this used to be a crosswalk. Now there's a guardrail fence up. So instead of tearing up the road, they left it in here and they left this work in here. And actually, if you wanted to, you could continue all the way up to close to the start finish line, but I would be careful because you've got those sensors and you don't want to mess up any part of those sensors for doing your digital racing. Okay. But that would look pretty cool going all the way across. I don't suggest you do it anywhere near these turnouts, these lane changers. If you do, be very, very, very careful. If you mess up, well, you got to buy a new one, don't you? But for areas like this hairpin, that would be really interesting to put that type of texture, like an old Italian cobblestone or flagstone road right in front of the bleachers, the hairpin turn bleachers. That would look really beautiful. That would add a lot of detail to the track. But for right now, that's where I'm at. That's what I've been doing. And if you have any questions, drop me a line. I'll be glad to answer your questions. This is all thanks again to Boone's Slot Cars. Look him up on YouTube. He's worth your time. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.